Hello and welcome again to another exciting episode of Encountering Jesus, where we look at John's Gospel and we go afresh through the Gospel with John's eyewitness account, looking at Jesus as if we've never known him before. So we're putting aside what we know or what we think we know about Jesus, and we look at him afresh through the eyewitness account of John's Gospel. And last time we looked at Jesus' claim that he came from heaven. And if you missed that one, there's a link in the video description below. But as always, if you like this series, why not like, subscribe and click the button, and you'll never miss another episode. Well, in this session today, we're going to have a look at Jesus' claim that he was actually not only God, not only the Son of God, but he was equal with God himself. And we're going to go from John chapter 8 verses 31 to 59. So if you've got your Bibles with you, you can follow along, or alternatively you can follow along on the screen. So we're going to go John chapter 8 verses 31 to 59. Jesus said to the people who believed in him, "You are truly my disciples if you remain faithful to my teachings, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." "But we are the descendants of Abraham," they said. "We have never been slaves to anyone. What do you mean, you will be set free?" Jesus replied, "I tell you the truth. Everyone who sins is a slave to sin. A slave is not a permanent member of the family, but a son is part of the family forever. So if the Son sets you free, you are truly free. Yes, I realize that you are descendants of Abraham, and yet some of you are trying to kill me because there's no room in your heart for my message. I am telling you what I saw when I was with my father, but you are following the advice of your father." "Our father is Abraham," they declared. "No," Jesus replied, "for if you were really the children of Abraham, you would follow his example. Instead, you are trying to kill me because I told you the truth which I heard from God. Abraham never did such a thing. No, you are imitating your real father." They replied, "We aren't illegitimate children. God himself is our true father." Jesus told them, "If God were your father, you would love me because I have come to you from God. I am not here on my own, but he sent me. Why can't you understand what I am saying? It is because you can't even hear me. For you are children of your father the devil, and you love to do evil things he does. He was a murderer from the beginning. He has always hated the truth because there is no truth in him. When he lies, it is consistent with his character, for he is a liar and the father of lies. So when I tell the truth, you just naturally don't believe me. Which of you can truthfully accuse me of sin? And I am telling you the truth. Why don't you believe me? Anyone who belongs to God listens gladly to the words of God, but you don't listen because you don't belong to God." The people retorted, "You Samaritan devil, didn't we say all along that you were possessed by a demon?" "No," Jesus said, "I have no demon in me, for I honor my Father, and you dishonor me. And though I have no wish to glorify myself, God is going to glorify me. He is the true judge. I tell you the truth, anyone who obeys my teaching will never die." The people said, "Now we know you are possessed by a demon. Even Abraham and the prophets died, but you say anyone who obeys my teaching will never die. Are you greater than our father Abraham? He died, and so did the prophets. Who do you think you are?" Jesus answered, "If I want glory for myself, it doesn't count, but it is my Father who will glorify me. You say he is our God, but you don't even know him. I know him. If I said otherwise, I would be as great a liar as you. But I do know him and obey him. Your father Abraham rejoiced as he looked forward to my coming. He saw it and was glad." The people said, "You aren't even 50 years old. How can you ever say you have seen Abraham?" Jesus answered, "I tell you the truth. Before Abraham was even born, I am." At that moment they picked up stones to throw at him, but Jesus was hidden from them and left the temple. There's a programme on the BBC called Who Do You Think You Are, where the family trees of various celebrities are looked at, and very often they unearth villains or heroes, and very often the celebrity is left in tears by all this revelation. And today, as we look in John's Gospel chapter 8, we see Jesus with the people, and he's saying that only by believing in him are they going to be free from the captivity of sin. And they're saying, well, we've never been slaves to anyone, we're not captive to anything. But actually they were telling a lie right from the start, because they were slaves in Egypt for 400 years before Moses liberated them. But they said, oh, we've never been slaves to anyone. But they were slaves. But what Jesus is talking about here is not physical slaves, he's talking about spiritual slaves to sin. So captivity to sin itself, to all the things that they do and continue to do wrong. And Jesus says, unless you believe in me, you'll never be free from the traps of sin. And this doesn't go down well at all. They said, well, that's rubbish. They said, it's got nothing to do with you, Jesus. Our ancestor is Abraham, and our righteousness comes from Abraham, because God made a special covenant with Abraham 2,000 years ago, and God said to Abraham, your descendants will be called my children. And so they're saying, well, our righteousness comes from Abraham, not from you. And Jesus doesn't dispute their physical heritage of coming from Abraham, but he does dispute their spiritual heritage. He disputes their spiritual heritage because they're not listening to his message. They're not listening to him saying what the good news is, what the gospel is. And he says that they're being blinded by the devil himself. He says, look, you're not listening to me. You can't hear what I'm saying. You're being blinded by the devil himself. And Jesus says, Abraham looked forward to my coming. And they're going, well, how come you know Abraham? Abraham died over 2,000 years ago. You're not even 50. And then Jesus cuts straight to the point, and he says, I tell you the truth, before Abraham was even born, I am. And all of a sudden there's uproar, because I am is the sacred term that God used to describe himself. And that term came right back when Moses first met God in the burning bush. And God said, well, do you want me to go and free... Moses said, do you want me to go and free your people Israel? But who shall I say is sending me? And God said, tell them, I am is sending you. So I am is a thing that God uses to describe himself, which basically means God has never been created. He's always been there. He always exists. It's just a term that God uses for himself. I am. So in Jesus saying, before Abraham was even born, I am, he was actually claiming, Jesus is claiming equality with God. As the Son of God, he's claiming equal power, equal righteousness with God. The question is, could this be true? Is it true? And could it be true? Could anyone but God do the miraculous things that Jesus did? Could anyone redefine all the teachings of the Old Testament in the Bible the way that Jesus did, with his teachings, with his revolutionary look at things? Was there enough evidence to back up Jesus' claims? Because these are monumental questions, and the answers that we give to these monumental questions have monumental consequences. Just take a moment now just to reflect on this journey with encountering Jesus. As we go through John's Gospel, take a moment to reflect on your journey with John's eyewitness account, his miracles, his teachings, is it possible that Jesus really is the Son of God? Is it possible that he could be equal with God himself? Because Jesus makes an important distinction. He said, you may be the physical descendants of Abraham, but you're not spiritual descendants, because Abraham believed who God was. He believed that Jesus was going to come. The Messiah was going to come. And Jesus says, you believe the devil. He said, your father, your spiritual father is the devil, because you're believing the lies that the devil has said. And that's the thing. The devil has been described as the father of lies. He can't tell us the truth. He wants to blind us to the truth of Jesus. And a lie is the only thing that stands between us and believing what Jesus says. And that goes all the way back to the Garden of Eden, where the serpent, the devil, the serpent, said to Eve, did God really say you would die if you ate the fruit? No, the Garden of Eden is another thing. I'm not going to go down there. But what I'm saying is, right from the beginning, Jesus says that the devil is the father of lies. And the reason we're looking at John's Gospel is that John wrote this eyewitness account because John truly believed in who Jesus is. So the thing is, do we believe John? And another thing, the author and theologian of C.S. Lewis, of the Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, he says this: we are faced then with a frightening alternative. The man Jesus we are talking about either was and is just what he said, or else insane, or something worse. Now it seems to me obvious that he was neither insane nor a fiend, and consequently, however strange or terrifying or unlikely it may seem, I have to accept the view that he was and is God. God has landed on this enemy-occupied world in human form. You know, C.S. Lewis was convinced who Jesus was. And he was an atheist. He was an atheist for a lot of his life. And then he read John's Gospel and he read the other Gospels, and he became convinced that Jesus was who he said he was. How about you? Are you convinced? Has Jesus' miracles convinced you? Has his teachings and his words convinced you? Because the devil wants to go, you don't want to believe all that rubbish. Don't worry about it. Everything is fine. But Jesus is very clear. The devil is the father of lies. So the question is, who are you going to believe? Are you going to believe the lie that the devil says? You don't want to believe all this? Or do you want to listen carefully to what Jesus says in John's Gospel? Do you want to see the miracles in John's Gospels and the other Gospels of Matthew, Mark and Luke, and believe who he is? Better have a sip of my coffee. So as always, what do you know about Jesus that you didn't know before? How has this changed your opinion of him? And what are the questions has this raised? As always, it's all in here. If you want to get this book, you can order this book and get this book, and you can write all your thoughts in it. You don't have to get this book. And again, if you like this series, why not click the subscribe button and ring the bell, and you'll never miss another episode. Well, it's a little bit chilly out here, so until next time, bye bye.